Look at him, he's heading for that small
Jedi.
I think I can get him before he gets there. He's almost in range.
That's no Jedi. It's Ahsoka Tano.
My name is Ahsoka Tano. I am no Jedi.
I'm no Jedi.
You're right about one thing, Captain. We are no Jedi.
All right, hello and welcome to Analyzing Ahsoka, a Disney Plus. Wait, no, it is a podcast about the show Ahsoka on Disney Plus. I am Travis Fishburne.
I am Alex Brunel.
And joining us this week, we have a special guest, Craig Gaynier. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm happy we were able to get this on the books.
Mm-hmm.
And what episode to guest on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nothing big happened. Just all the stuff. So, Craig, how have you been enjoying this series thus far?
So, I made a conscious choice coming into the series to not visit any of the animated series before. It's like I had been watching the animated series as they were airing it. I'd heard they were good, and I'd heard this one was more specifically about Rebels, but I knew I didn't have enough time to watch 4 seasons of Rebels before watching this, so I thought I'd give it for my first watch through. I'm just gonna go in kind of completely cold and see, you know, how it is cold. And I will say it's led to some confusion at points. In fact, I looked something up today that I had a question about and was surprised to learn the answer. We'll get to later, but yeah, So I feel like I've got this like outsider's perspective of the show without having this like all the like, you know, dense background of you know, the rich layered, you know, that there are to the characters, and see if my interpretation of what's going on or my experience with it compares to you all's.
No, I really like that. I like that you have a fresh take on it, because we have both, like Alex and I, like we've watched every episode of animated Star Wars.
In particular, like right before this, my fiance and I binged Rebels pretty hard to be able to get it done before Ahsoka came out, to the point that we watched 20 episodes in a weekend, I think, right before Ahsoka came out. So it's all very dense and fresh in my mind. So like, I love that you're coming from the exact opposite perspective in coming into the show.
Alex, you may have answered this previously, but when you were doing your like complete rewatch,
which I'm still in the midst of.
Yes, but at the time when it became Revenge of the Sith time, did you watch like the Clone Wars Revenge of the Sith
yes.
mashed together cut? All right.
Yes, we watched the fella. I think he goes by numeral J on Reddit. Created not only the supercut of the Revenge of the Sith / Siege of Mandalore, which also includes 1 or 2 episodes worth of the Gennady Tartakovsky 2D animated Clone Wars in there as well, and the same guy also made like extended versions of everything that he possibly could, and recut the entirety of Clone Wars to be in chronological order, and all the arcs are their own movie, and that's how Angela and I watched Clone Wars, which is super recommended to anyone interested in that experience. But the 4.5 hour Revenge of the Sith supercut, I have to say, I mean, I was extremely surprised at how much the material from both sides of that story elevated each other when presented in this context. It became really rich, and just even having this other stuff going on while like the kind of fate of the galaxy with the Jedi and the live action stuff is going on is just really helps to paint the broader picture of what's going on in this universe that we are into in the way that we are. I think honestly, if either of you guys or anyone who happens to listen to this can carve out 4.5 hours of your life for a single thing sometime, which is very hard as 30-something adults, strong recommend the Revenge of the Sith supercut. It will make you appreciate both Revenge of the Sith and Clone Wars in kind of a new way.
So, question.
Yeah.
In order to really appreciate it, is there any other like homework previewing I need to do before? Like, do I need to watch a couple seasons of Clone Wars?
Oh, for that, just to experience that as it is, that supercut? I don't think so. Like, I think if you just kind of go in with a general idea of knowing kind of where Ahsoka's character is at that point,
you'll the Clone Wars movie.
Okay, you've not seen any of the show?
Well, Alex,
Okay.
I would say I think there's more. Yeah, I think there's more. I think you
In
actually
that case,
have.
yeah, there's more homework to do.
Yeah, you need to have like some more stock in the Ahsoka character, and then as well, the whole Siege of Mandalore thing. Like there's a bunch of stuff that like went into what led to that. I think.
Yeah.
So,
and Clone Wars can be tough. The first couple seasons are pretty janky.
This is the movie.
And the movie,
that's
the Clone Wars movie makes me sad in the same way that Jay and Silent Bob's super groovy cartoon movie makes me sad. And I don't know if either of you guys have ever sat through that piece of crap, but very upsetting.
I knew better than to do that.
The animated series they made was fantastic.
The Clerks animated series is great.
Yeah,
it's one of the best things ever done. It was why I thought that this 1 hour long Jay and Silent Bob cartoon movie might be fun. It is not. It is just bad. It makes me upset to think that Stinky the Hut is a canon thing. But and the other thing too is still, man, like
it's Punky Muffin.
Yeah, it's Punky Muffin the Hut. But it straightens up. The show straightens up. It's also a little bit annoying because there's so much that's told out of order, which is why this guy's edited versions are great, because you get the whole storytelling in chronological order and every arc is presented as its own piece rather than a multi-part episode, or like 'cause there's points where like the same story is told over 4 episodes that are like episodes apart.
Yeah.
Even sometimes over 2 different seasons.
Yeah. There's something that happens like later, I think it's in season 2, and the episode takes place prior to the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Prior to the Battle of Christophsis.
Yeah. The extended things are easy to find. If you just remember numeral J and search Star Wars fan edit numeral J, you'll be able to get a set of links on Google Drive and all kinds of stuff.
And people do not get confused and look up numeral Jay and Silent Bob super groovy cartoon movie.
Do not do it. It is a bad movie. I am a Kevin Smith apologist, but that is not fun to watch. Anyway, but yeah, Clone Wars is super worth your time. And I used to be that way too. Like I tried to get into Clone Wars kind of at the time and I just couldn't do it. And then I had this guy telling me for years that it was worthwhile. And even if I understood that to be true, it took me many more years of actually get to it and actually finish it and do it. Same with Rebels. I had not watched the entirety of Rebels until just before Ahsoka. I had seen most of it and then select Ahsoka episodes. And then just before the show came out, my fiance and I binged it, because for the last like year and change, we've been working on a total chronological Star Wars rewatch. And now we're up to Rogue One, right? That's what comes after Rebels, Rogue One?
Yes. Yeah, that'd have to be.
Yeah. Wait, Rebels takes place before A New Hope?
Yes.
Rebels is about the formation of the rebellion, basically.
Yeah, Rebels starts like 5 years prior to A New Hope.
Okay.
And Ezra is pretty much, he is the same age as Luke and Leia, because his birthday is Empire Day, which is when the Empire was formed. So that would put him around the same time.
It's like the same actual day.
Yeah.
I guess I never actually realized that. That's interesting.
I did note, I looked up and saw that Jason Sindula's birth year is 1 BBY, so that would actually. But wait.
Yeah, so he comes in right. He's never a character in the show. We see him as a baby in like 1 episode of Rebels.
Well, he's like a child.
Is he?
Yeah, then the flash forward, which is
right.
pretty much taking place at the time of this series, they show him as a child on board the Ghost.
Parts of episode 1 of Ahsoka are like a shot-for-shot live-action remake of the very end of Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I'll have to, I promise I will check it out.
It's a very rich thing, and in particular, there's some episodes where the story work is just like the amount of stuff that Dave Filoni can fit conceptually into, like the episode where World Between Worlds, where we spent a lot of this episode of Ahsoka in Rebels, the episode where that was introduced.
Oh,
it's introduced and shut down in the same episode, and that same episode has a B plot. So there's like 15 minutes of actual screen time maybe dedicated to the World Between Worlds thing, and it's
it's just the thing is, like, if you explained it like the World Between Worlds, and we're in it in this episode as well, but like in the context of Rebels, like Alex is saying, if you told somebody what happened and how they did it, it sounds like something that would make you throw your hands up and be like, what the fuck are they doing? This makes no sense. But
we're swearing in this episode.
Actually, yes. Yeah. Where our swear meter has to go way up.
Your point.
But yeah, it's like the way that it actually plays out, it doesn't make you want to like rage quit. Like they're creating shortcuts.
Which is very economical and effective storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So yeah, that's very interesting, Craig, that your exposure to animated Star Wars is limited, because especially with this episode, which is calling back to so much of Clone Wars. And we're just going to have to get into it.
Did you cry during this episode, Craig?
I did not cry. I got a little teary-eyed at the end of episode 4 when Anakin first appeared on screen.
For sure. Yeah.
But I didn't quite cry either time.
I think if you had watched all this stuff leading up to this, you would have gotten at least teary during this episode. Cuz like it's such an emotional payoff for like all the investment in usually very silly cartoons.
Okay. I'm gonna go through and watch all the after this series is over. At some point, I'm gonna go through and do a full rewatch. I'll consult with you guys on the exact, make sure I don't miss anything in terms of the cartoon watch, and then get them in the correct order, and then do a rewatch of Ahsoka to judge. But
Good call.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I had no idea the World Between Worlds was first introduced in Rebels.
Yeah. I mean, I think if they had tried to introduce that, I mean, I guess they have just tried to introduce it to a lot of people in live action through Ahsoka, but I mean, like, it's a very cartoony concept. Like, there's a lot of very cartoony things that are now live action things because they had their genesis in animation. Just kind of like the way Chopper is,
Yeah,
like that.
but I feel like the droids throughout this Star Wars are cartoony.
Very true, but I don't think we've ever seen a live action astromech that can cock his head before.
Yes, the back and forth, which adds so much character to him. And there's a shot where everyone's looking out at the ocean, and they're listening for something. And because Chopper his head is always off tilt, it gives him like, oh, he's listening too.
Yeah,
it's the thing that Kirshner did. What he really loved, like, I think his favorite shot that he's always said in Empire Strikes Back is R2 trying to peek into Yoda's hut and him having to use his tippy toes, as he said.
Kirsch did that's one of the things that Kirsch did best when we're talking about Empire Strikes Back, and I talk about that all the time when I'm talking about it. It's that moment, and it's the moment where Han covers 3PO's mouth to stop him from talking.
Mm-hmm. Because that doesn't make any sense.
That wouldn't do anything. That's just a speaker in a robot's head. But like that, that anthropomorphization of C-3PO in that way helps us connect to the emotional reality of that moment. And Kirsch just knows that as a director. Like, that wasn't in the script. And that kind of thing that he brought to Empire Strikes Back, I think, is really still why it stands as the best Star Wars movie, in my opinion.
That's a hot take.
I'm still a Jedi guy, but Return of the Jedi. In case there was any, in case you thought I was talking about, The Last Jedi.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I love The Last Jedi. I don't think anyone thought that.
Yeah.
You were talking about that.
I mean, look, there are many people who put The Last Jedi as their favorite.
Yeah.
I'm just not one of them.
It's
up
either
there. It's top 3 for me, I think.
yeah. Last Jedi is either at the very bottom of your list or like near the top, if not the top.
Yeah.
There's no middle ground for The Last Jedi.
That is very true.
I feel like we have to put like a trigger warning on this video if we talk any more about The Last Jedi.
Whatever. If people are still salty since what was it? Was it 2017 that movie
Yes.
came out?
Mhm.
Get mad about something else. Come on.
They're still salty like the surface of Crate. Oh,
One of them. Yeah. No, we need to talk about Ahsoka. or else
okay.
we'll start
Yeah, we'll talk
talking
about that. All right.
Last Jedi.
So it opens up and it's all quiet, and we got these lush red trees, and we don't even get Ahsoka first. We get Hera coming out. She's got her blaster drawn. I don't know what she thought she was gonna do.
She doesn't know what she's walking into
No.
because she's coming to this like weird kind of witch altar place, like space Stonehenge, where she knows that some shit was going down. But yeah, I'll take this opportunity to just say I think Mary Elizabeth Winstead fucking killed it in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she's really gotten to a place now where I think she's finally really gotten into the character.
Yeah.
It's so
I agree.
weird. It just feels like the first time we saw her in those first 2 episodes, and how it's been since. It almost feels like one of those things that Amazon used to do, where they would, or just how TV show used to work in general, where you would shoot a pilot and then the series itself wouldn't pick up until later. And so aspects, characters, and things in the pilot would not necessarily represent how they became later. It almost feels that disconnected to me.
Okay,
I can see
I'm
that
glad
for
that.
sure.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought that, because those first couple episodes, I was not like that. She was my least favorite character the first couple episodes, and I thought, honestly, I was like, she does not feel like a general in those first few episodes.
Yeah.
But she's really picked it up since then, and definitely this most recent episode, I'd say, yeah, I'd agree, it's probably her best work of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, we have her exploring this altar. What's left of Phoenix Squadron is hanging out. Carson Teva and probably 1 or 2 other pilots. I think it's 3 pilots that are still around.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Jason pops his head out of the ship. God, Jason, I'm really into this Jason character. I'm really into what they're doing with this guy.
That's really hard to do with introducing like an all new like kid character into I think anything. Is a similar thing what they did with the Omega. Like on paper, Omega should be in the Bad Batch series. Omega should be like really get on your nerves, but she's really one of the highlights of the series.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't even think this kid playing Jason is like even really that great of an actor. I think there's a shot in this episode where he briefly looks into the lens, like as his eyes are crossing, like he like just for a split second just lands on the lens. But he's effective because he has that innocence and that timidity to him that really help out the character.
I haven't been as sold on him so much myself. I mean, and again, I feel like part of this was me coming out of the whole series completely cold. I was surprised. The one thing I was saying that I looked up that it surprised me was I just assumed this was some kid that Hera had adopted or was looking after for some reason. I didn't realize this is her biological son because he does not look like her biological son in any like.
Yes.
He does not look half Twi'lek. He does not look. There's some weird choices made with that, and so I feel like that's part of what's kind of hold me out. And then also it's why is this general flying around the universe with just her and a child? going
Right.
on dangerous missions with a child in her in her ship. It's just, it's he's taken me out of it quite a bit, but I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't say it's because of the actor per se, just more of not having not knowing why this person's here, or it was only this last episode where they talk about his father having been a Jedi Knight and whatnot. So
Like one of my favorite scenes in this episode.
yeah,
Every scene is my favorite scene in this episode.
it's
This like sad Hu Yang here in this opening scene is like devastating. Like I've never seen a droid so depressed as Hu Yang is as he's like standing on this cliff.
Yeah, and he's holding Sabine's helmet, and it feels like really he's like holding her skull. is the tone that's going on.
Totally.
Yeah, if I were if I were Hera and I approached this scene, I would assume that they are both dead.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's like
And then we go back to the world between worlds, man.
Yeah.
And we just get a dialogue conversation between like adult Anakin and adult Ahsoka, and he's calling her Snips. And I'll take this opportunity to say fucking 75 stars out of 5 for Hayden Christensen's performance in this episode.
by all means, best acting he's ever done.
Dude, I've always been have you ever seen the movie Shattered Glass that he stars in from like 2002?
Yeah.
I have not.
He's really good in it.
Yeah.
He's really good.
I remember he was nominated for a Golden Globe for that.
Rightfully so.
And it was before the Attack of the Clones had came out, which is why I was shocked when he was just atrocious in Attack of the Clones.
He's
I was
terrible.
like, this guy was just nominated for a Golden Globe. What?
Totally. He is one of the best examples on the scale that he's been on. This guy needs a good script and a director who knows how to push him in the right direction to get the performance. And it was fun to watch him in Obi-Wan Kenobi. It was fun to see him in that context, and he was very good in those instances, but he didn't get to really do much in terms of helping to continue to define Anakin as a character. He has been given so much in this episode, and he delivers so freaking hard. I'm just very happy for him that he finally got to show off what he can actually do as an actor when he's presented with the correct material in this context.
Correct material, and he was given 7 seasons of Matt Lanter to like do homework on. Be like, oh,
Which he
this is my
definitely
character.
seemingly studied.
Yeah, absolutely. He did that, and Dave was like, here, just do what Matt did, which is fine. And it's just, you watch this whole episode and you're like, why could we, like, could you imagine like this Anakin in episodes 2 and 3?
Oh my God.
Right. I will say was really memorable about the performance is just like the facial, changes he would make in like in a given scene, just like there was a lot of just kind of nuance to without even certain parts of the scenes. There's so much nuance without even saying a word of what he's able to convey. It was it was really, really incredible.
Absolutely. And this was not something I was really expecting in this show, and I could not be happier. It's so great. Oh my God, I'm like watching the scene over here right now. I'm just like so happy to see Hayden just like being good.
So can I say, as someone who had no idea about the world between worlds going into this, I actually did feel like I grasped the concept. At least I feel like it seemed to grasp the concept pretty well, and I think it works without having to deliver any kind of exposition, because we've seen all these Star Wars films in which when the Jedi dies, they just vanish. We saw the I actually just rewatched Return of the Jedi a couple weeks ago at the Hollywood Bowl, humble brag. And
I was there. Were you Friday or Saturday?
It was Friday.
Okay, I went Saturday. Great show.
Oh, so good. The best Star Wars movie. Anyway, but But no, but like Yoda dies and he dissolves into and it's so it makes sense that this is where they go when they're like when they kind of fade away, and that when just basically when Anakin was telling her she has a choice to live or die, that is like, oh, she she can just rematerialize the same way she dematerialized.
Right.
So I thought that was, it was an interesting concept, an interesting way to kind of show a purgatory of sorts, a way station for Jedi, and I dug it. I hope that was an actual explanation of what it was.
It's a pretty good read. I mean, it definitely is those things. It's also more than those things. It's like kind of the nexus of all space and time. So there can be some wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff going on in this place. But yes, definitely all the things you said, I think, also apply. It is a nexus. It's a crossroads. It's a place of huge potential power, and very few have traversed it, I think. Or, we've only seen a few characters in the show traverse it anyway.
Yeah.
Or in the universe.
I just rewatched Interstellar recently, and I was expecting her to like go and shake some books on a bookshelf.
I mean, she may have, and so maybe that's what Jason was hearing. He thought it was a lightsaber, but it was really her shaking the books.
Oh, good
the
call.
watch.
Friggin' Interstellar. I know you love Interstellar, Travis. I'm sorry.
You didn't say anything
I'm
bad.
pro Interstellar.
I'm fine with Interstellar. I thought it was a great theatrical experience. I don't care to ever watch it again.
All right.
Yeah, okay. So the world between worlds. He wants to teach her one more lesson. Which is like, I was just like, my mouth was agape. I'm just like gleeful that like, Anakin's like, I'm gonna keep training you. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, we get this now? Like, this is so great. Because we've seen this, we've seen a lot of these two characters in Clone Wars. That's what most of the show is about. But there's not because the show is for kids. It's generally a lighter tone, even though it's like actually hyper violent. It's presented in a lighter kind of a context, but to have these two actually finally meet up as adults in a more realistic, serious-minded context is like really rewarding with all that behind us.
Yeah. Well, so one thing that I've wondered watching this show is in the aftermath of Jedi, what has been heard about Vader's involvement with killing the Emperor? Do the people know that Vader is the one who actually turned on the Emperor and killed the Emperor? Or do people still, or is he just the ultimate villain to everyone, the planet destroying monster?
I don't know the answer to that. I did just learn today that the universe, the galaxy at large, did not learn that Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader until political opponents of Leia's used it against her 25 years after the fall of the Empire. I only learned that happened today.
As in the
so
book
I don't know
Bloodlines.
Okay, it's in Bloodlines.
Yep.
Okay. So I don't know anything more than that, but that's a really good question. I don't know if the galaxy at large knows that Vader is the one that tossed the Emperor down the chasm.
I'm pretty sure not. I think all the credit goes to Luke.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I feel like is a very it's a very important thing in forming Ahsoka's just kind of state of mind for the whole series, like in terms of her association with Anakin and whatnot, and her the guilt and conflicted feelings she feels. But I feel like when she sees him in this moment, if she knew that he had been redeemed, it would I guess give her a different point of view on seeing him again, as opposed to, oh hey, you're this monster, died a monster.
Well, she does know. She knows that. There are moments in we do go with her during Rebels where she learns that Anakin has become Vader, and then they eventually do kind of face off at one point.
No, but did she ever learn that? Do we know if she's ever learned that that he was redeemed?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that she
would
does know that.
Well, the thing is, in Book of Boba
But
Fett, she's hanging out with Luke. She would have
So
to
she
know.
probably got the story from Luke.
Yeah, and she like tells him things about Anakin, about like how he reminds her of him and stuff. So they've definitely traded stories, and
Yeah,
she
that
knows
would
the
make
full
sense.
picture.
Yeah.
And so this is, and this definitively takes place after Book of Boba Fett.
Yes, this takes place concurrently with season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Okay. So she does not know that Mandalore has been retaken.
No.
No, yeah,
Right? No.
no, she would not know that.
Yeah. Holy crap. This is a good idea. Just playing the episode behind your head.
Yeah,
Although now we're going to be distracted.
people.
Well,
Yeah.
it's good for cues.
If somebody's watching or they're listening, they do not realize this, but
Oh, right. That's good. Okay, so we're on a Zoom call, everybody, and Travis is, for our benefit, just making his background this episode so we can take some visual cues off of what we want to talk about for this.
I didn't realize Zoom you could your virtual background could be a video. Oh my god!
I didn't realize
plug
that
this
either.
in.
Yeah.
Technology is wild.
I'm going to take full advantage of that on my next Zoom call.
Yeah. What do they square off next, right? They draw blades.
Mm-hmm.
And
Squaring
Travis,
off.
last week you said this was Vader's lightsaber that he was carrying, but it
I-
does not seem so.
No,
Well,
I.
so it starts.
Oh,
I thought the first lightsaber he had was the Anakin saber when it comes out blue. Are we sure that's not his?
I'm
Is that
pretty
not
sure
it?
that is.
this
the Anakin
is
old
yeah.
saber.
This is his lightsaber throughout, and I said that based on something I had heard, and then after I had posted the episode, I was looking at stills, and I just realized on my own like that's definitely like Anakin saber. That's not the Vader saber. Why did I
Yeah,
say
that's what
that?
I thought too. Okay.
I like boosted up the bright. I'm like, these are all the features of the Anakin saber. I should not have spoken out of turn, and I should have done my due research like I used to do instead of just firing off every which way. But
Now do we?
Yeah.
Now do we think that after this episode, Ahsoka will change the color of her lightsabers?
I hope not.
Is that-
No,
like,
she's
my interpretation has been she's using the white sabers because she abandoned the Jedi way and
Mhm.
she,
Yeah.
she's no Jedi and whatnot, and so it's kind of like the in between. But I feel like this episode kind of like puts her back on the Jedi path. Or maybe I'm reading too much into that.
I've heard
I
that.
mean-
But I don't know if that's something I want for her. You know,
I don't think that's what we're getting, quite
No.
honestly. I personally don't.
that's
Maybe
I
maybe
agree.
it is.
And also, Filoni has often talked about he's got these like two phases of Ahsoka, which he draws from Lord of the Rings and Gandalf, going from Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White. And in this episode is when we get her going into Ahsoka the White after she comes out and she's got this white get up. I didn't know where that she was just storing that somewhere ready for this day to come.
I know.
Though I will say, I feel like her personality in the first half of the series felt more like Gandalf the White. So I feel like it'll be difficult to have her try to go even more like, supernatural, stoic than she was in the first half of the series.
But just to talk about like the saber thing, it's like now that she's Ahsoka the White, it would be very strange from a branding perspective for her to be like, now I'm going to use green sabers again.
I mean, well, maybe she should have been using the green sabers to begin with, and when she comes back as Ahsoka the White, switch to the white sabers. Maybe have like a yellow saber beforehand, and now it's white. I don't know.
She's used every kind of saber, and like there's a great thing that happens in season 7 where she meets Anakin again for the first time after a while of Clone Wars, and she gets he gives her some sabers and they're blue, and she's like, what? He's like, I improved them. was, in his mind, blue's the better one.
Right. And just, yeah, I guess since we're talking about the Ahsoka the White thing, I read interpretations with somebody's Reddit comment, but I actually really like this read of like Anakin, that it wasn't necessarily Anakin's role to be, as the chosen one, the guiding force of light in the universe. That perhaps the chosen one was meant to fully embrace and understand both sides of the Force.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that that's what Ahsoka kind of, there's a moment in here where we see like dark Ahsoka. We see a flash of that, and I think that coming out of this experience, she's carrying a little bit more of that with her, like the totality of knowledge without falling onto either side.
I mean, I always, even like as an 18-year-old watching the Phantom Menace, thought it was so weird that they're like, oh, he's gonna fulfill the prophecy of restoring balance to the Force. Like, wait, but right now the Force is all on the good guy's side, the Jedi's side. Why do you want to make it balanced with the Sith? That would be like, I don't know, killing all the Jedi. That's
and
how
that
you
was
balance the Force.
Right, and that was a further read on this person's comment, was that like maybe the chosen one was meant to bring this darkness because there was too much light. The Jedi had done too much work in suppressing the dark side, that now the universe was out of balance in favor of the light. And so the chosen one needed to bring the darkness at that time.
I mean,
Which is interesting. I don't know if I agree, but it's interesting.
I mean, it's definitely what happened. I feel like maybe they could have gotten along without embracing that prophecy and not bringing so much darkness into the universe and all the planet murder.
I mean, Star Wars is a long story about so many people that are so far up their own ass that they don't see what's happening right in front of them, right? Like, it's happening again in this show with the New Republic.
Yeah.
So
That's how it's working.
yeah, I just want to say we glazed over the scene. Just one of my favorite moments in this episode where Carson Teva's like to Hu Yang, like, "What are we doing? I missed something." And he's like, "Jason has abilities. His father was a Jedi. He can feel things that we can." He's just like, "Okay, fine. All right, we'll go. Jedi stuff. Got it."
Yeah, that was also like my favorite little beat.
Okay, so this scene that's happening kind of now. We have this continued fight between Ahsoka and Anakin. He takes out the bridge from underneath her, and then
you could do that.
Apparently, you can do that.
Yeah.
And then we're in the fucking Battle of Ryloth. And at this point, I see. This is what happens to me when I'm watching the TV. In this episode earlier today, I see young Ahsoka crawl up off the ground and clone troopers storming past her, and I just say to my TV, "Fuck you." Fuck you. There's no way you're giving me this right now. There is no way this is actually happening on TV.
And the thing is, like, when it happened, the second time I watched it, like, you see the transition of, like, when she's fallen and becomes the younger version of herself. But the first time, you're not like, I'm not looking out for that. I just see Ahsoka the whole time. But then when she gets up, and I'm like, this is a little girl. Oh, my God. This is crazy.
Right. And props to Ariana Greenblatt for really bringing this young Ahsoka to beautiful life in this iteration.
Ariana Greenblatt having a very good year.
Yeah.
So
Barbie.
far. She was in
also,
Barbie. Yep.
Young Gamora a few years back, right?
Young Gamora.
Oh my God, she is young Gamora.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So whenever Disney's like, hey, we've got this beloved character, wears a lot of makeup as an alien, we need a younger version. Can you do it? And then she was also in 65 earlier this year with Adam
that's
Driver.
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
That movie's bad, but she wasn't bad.
Yeah, that movie was not good though.
Yeah, it was really.
Is she the child who doesn't speak English the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I wish
That
she spoke
movie.
English.
That movie, like, we're not gonna go on a tangent, but just
A 90-minute movie about dinosaurs that had maybe 15 minutes about dinosaurs in it.
it had an easy sell, and just give me that, and you couldn't do it.
Yeah, I would like to see Adam Driver shoot dinosaurs with a space laser. Instead, I got Adam Driver swatting bugs and trying to talk to a child who didn't speak English for
I know.
Oh my god.
But these scenes with young Ahsoka, because this is another thing the cartoon does, by the very nature of the fact that it's a cartoon, is you can't relate to the characters as much because they are cartoons. We can intellectually know that Ahsoka is a child in this time, and we see that the animated character is a child. But seeing an actual child, an actual live action child in this scenario really drives home the horror of what this person was put through and what she thought she was signing up for and what she got. It's all in this scene, and it's beautifully played by her and Hayden, and it's just, I'm speechless.
Yeah.
This scene
And
is so
the
great.
fact, like, she calls attention to the fact, like, yeah, we're generals. Like, they made this child like lead
Right.
troops into war.
Like an actual child. We can so viscerally connect with the fact that she is just like the childish child, like, oh man. And she's straight, she's just commanding troops. How old is she here? Is she like 12, 13?
I think, yeah, somewhere along those lines.
I would
Unbelievable.
guess 14 maybe.
Maybe. But even then, I mean, like, it's still just, it's so heavy.
Yeah.
And it never plays as heavy in Clone Wars. It always plays as adventures with some heartbreak,
Do want to give a shout out to Ashley Eckstein, who voiced Ahsoka in the movie and the series, who
absolutely
founder of the greatest clothing line, her universe. It's if you have any, they finally started also releasing men's clothing. So I actually bought a piece this year's Comic-Con. But another fantastic clothes for women who are nerds.
Good
I
to know.
mean,
I didn't know.
and just like Ahsoka's success is, I mean, there's the Dave Filoni aspect, and then there's just the aspect that she really embraced that character, and it was like her brand, and she really, sold it to the fandom in a very genuine way that made people, I think, love the character all the more. And the fact that this character has the reputation that it does have today, I think, is through like her persistence in doing that for years.
Totally agree. Also in this scene, Anakin is wearing Jedi armor, which we've never seen in live action. We have live action clone troops, which maybe now it's actually the first time that we've had actual live action clone troopers. And
especially the Phase 1 armor.
Yeah. And hi Rex. Rex is live action now. That's fun. This scene, I could watch this scene for hours.
Yeah, it's
and as Anakin marches into battle,
it's just insane because like Hayden's playing 20 years younger and wearing this crazy armor that was constructed as this animated characters thing. It was never supposed to, we were never supposed to see this in live action. Right. And yet it looks so good. The color palette, that's another thing about these flashback scenes, is you could tell right away we were in like Clone Wars stuff, because those are like the colors you're used to seeing in Clone Wars episodes. And 100%. It just translated so well into live action. Like, wow.
Yeah. And then also, as Anakin is walking off into battle, that brief flash of him turning into Vader as he's walking away, and just like the visuals of this show are just like peak Star Wars. Like it's so good.
I will say, I feel like the entire series I've been really impressed with the cinematography.
Same thing.
It looks very looks very cinematic, film-like, and those shots of Anakin just flashing in and out of Vader, in the world between worlds, were just, I'd say very effective.
Totally.
I've got my Anakin, my dark Vader, my dark side Anakin light on me now.
Perfect.
You've got red on you.
Huh?
I said you've got red on you, to Craig.
I do.
Had I known you'd done that, I would have like pulled that Shaun of the Dead clip and played it over and over.
What could have been. Something I saw pointed out online in this scene where Hera and Hu Yang are flying in the Ghost. Hera has a little torn, like a little photograph of Kanan next to the on the dashboard, basically next to the readouts.
Yeah.
And we can't really see it.
No, I've seen
really
people
discern it.
like go crazy zoom and try to enhance it to be like, does it look like Freddie Prinze Jr.? And
Freddie Prinze Jr. plays the character in Rebels.
And who it looks
And-
like more than
And in The Rise of Skywalker.
yes,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
true. He looks more like if you take that image that I saw, he looks way more like Chris Evans in Scott Pilgrim versus the World than Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah, I see.
Well,
that
he
for
was one
sure.
of her evil exes. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. They're in the same club.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I would be curious to see if at some point in this series we do get a Freddie Prinze Jr. Cameo.
I think that's like the last thing on everyone's bucket list for this show
Mm-hmm.
that we don't know for a fact that we're going to get already.
I mean, at this point, the only thing missing from these crazy flashbacks into the Clone Wars is, we saw awesome Anakin wearing the armor, which never thought you'd see that. However, like the one thing I've always wanted to see that we didn't get in the Kenobi series is, Ewan McGregor wearing the armor like that. And it would have just been so cool if they'd just gotten like a single shot of like them both together wearing the armor.
Yeah. So now we're watching this scene. This is the Siege of Mandalore now. And
is.
Ahsoka's cutting down bad Mandalorians, and we get to see these guys in live action. Holy crap. Like, my
So
God.
by the way, I did not realize that these were two different battles when I was watching it live. I thought they were the same battle.
Anakin's
see
hair
that.
gives it away.
And she's wearing a different costume.
Yeah.
Not that attentive, apparently.
Come on, why didn't you pick up on this?
Yeah, she's got. They did a really excellent job of like Ahsoka's head adornments kind of changed
That's another thing.
throughout Clone Wars and Rebels, and they've matched it all perfectly in these like it's just live action iterations of exactly how she was designed at those times.
And another thing I saw somebody point out that is mind blowing is that this is the Siege of Mandalore, and so this is the Ahsoka that this age this Ahsoka took on Darth Maul.
Mm-hmm.
Oh dear God!
Yeah,
Oh, dude, and that's something you have to look forward to when you get to that. The fight between her and Darth Maul was not animated; it was mocapped. It was like carefully choreographed and shot and mocapped with live action actors, and it is one of the best lightsaber battles in the whole saga.
Did they bring Ray Park back?
they did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they did, right?
yeah.
Awesome.
It was wild, and Ashley did a lot of it too, right? I think, or no? was
I
it
don't
stunt
know
double?
about that one.
Okay,
Maybe.
I won't speak out of turn then. But this scene again with like Anakin, letting a little more of the dark out in this scene with him and Ahsoka, and Ahsoka kind of coming more into her own is so great. God. It just makes me so heartbroken that we never got to see Hayden be this good as Anakin before this episode.
Yeah, well, obviously the technology exists. We can go back and let's digitally put a different performance into the movies.
Let's digitally put a different script into the prequels.
Yeah, if we're doing that, can we put a different digital performance in for Jar Jar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there was a whole.
All
You remember
kinds of stuff.
the campaign? We're going back into Last Jedi territory. Remember the campaign that somebody had to remake to remake Episode 8? Do you remember that?
No.
I do. There was it was a petition.org.
Some crazy, yeah.
thing. Yeah.
So, but instead of that, the petition should be let's go back and redo the prequel, or at least redo parts of them.
Yeah.
Phantom
Let
Menace
Filoni
is a
do it.
masterpiece. Let's not mess with that. But
Well, it's funny though. The last time I rewatched Phantom Menace, I just kept saying to myself, "Like, can you imagine if the scene would be perfectly fine if Jar Jar just wasn't there?"
Many fan edits of the Phantom Menace answer your particular request. I could recommend really good fan edits of the prequels. I had another thing and I lost it. It's okay. It's okay.
It's about Bantha Poodoo?
Oh no, about Phantom Menace. This is actually an aside. It's a bit of a digression. But when I was at work the other day, we had a bunch of background actors, extras, and I heard one use wizard in the same way that Anakin uses wizard.
Yeah.
Or Anakin's friends use wizard in episode
Kitster.
1. And I don't think they knew that's what they were referencing. I think like somehow in that social circle, whoever these people are hanging out with introduced wizard, and they just picked that shit up. And now there's just like 20-somethings just saying wizard about stuff in Los Angeles.
The robot chicken thing, it pulled it off. He said, I'm bringing it back.
My headcanon for what you witnessed was that person's friend group, some of that person's friend group was the actual kid from Phantom Menace. He just like
not unlikely.
Yeah. Just went through life using that as kind of regular jargon now.
That's his calling card.
Yeah.
Oh man, and this scene, we're back in the world between worlds now. Anakin and Ahsoka are finishing their fight. Anakin is forcing Ahsoka to make a choice, and she refuses, and he goes all dark on her. And we get his Sith eyes back, and we get his darkness back. And this turn that Hayden pulls off, transitioning from that dark back into the light, with, sure, it's helped by a visual effect with the eyes, but it is really just all in his face. It's all in his face, and it's so, so good.
This is so wizard, Annie.
There it is. I knew I had
Thank
that
you,
clip.
Travis. Wow.
And it really, it I feel like really emphasizes the, so it really shines a light on the kind of the emotional, trauma of having, been, your teacher was the butcher of the universe.
Yeah.
And she seeing in him in that world between worlds, both sides of it. Now,
Totally.
Quick question. We're now at the scene where she is being rescued from the water, and we see in in everything else where when we've seen a Jedi disappear, their clothes remain. So, do we think that when she reemerged, are these new clothes that she brought back with her from World Between Worlds, or did she just kind of like reform into the location where her clothes had kind of like dropped to after she dissolved?
It's an interesting question, and I don't think she dissolved so much as she passed through. From what we know, the entrance to the World Between Worlds is through portals, and the portals are in specific places wherever they are. But it seems like this planet is strong with something, like, there's this Night Sister altar there, so there's some kind of force thing with this planet. And my read kind of was that like she kind of happily fell into a portal that was in the water off the coast of this thing.
Yeah.
Is it a portal or a plot hole? I'm kidding.
Which tends to be with the World
We're talking
Between
about
Worlds,
magic now.
where
One might be the other.
where these tend to show up, because there was a secret ancient site on Lothal where that's where Ezra went through a portal and his clothes remained intact when he went through there.
Okay.
And then this is the second time she's been in the World Between Worlds, because she also went into a portal with him at that point.
Yeah. And this scene now where she's recovering and waking up, huge shout out to the makeup and creature effects team on this show, because this is the first time I think we've ever seen Ahsoka in any medium without any kind of a head adornment.
Yeah, without the head stuff.
And the blend on the makeup and the appliance is just absolutely fantastic. In this scene, we see Ahsoka's ears for the first time. There are these little holes, like
yes,
her.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. This is so interesting. This is like stuff I've always wondered about. I always thought that way with the Shakti and then with Ahsoka later, I thought I wasn't always quite sure. I mean, I knew later on, but in the beginning, I always wondered, I'm like, oh, is that, are those like biological, or is that some kind of a special headdress they wear? But no, it's all natural.
And that, yeah, and I love that, because obviously, like, the headgear for this species is designed as a practical matter so that they don't have to deal
with
exactly that aspect. But I love so much that they gave us just one brief scene where they put in that effort to show us like the fullness of her head.
And then after that, in this next scene where she's getting out of the ship, she's put on another of the headpieces. And
yeah, so this one's new, right?
This one is the one that it's obviously larger because she's older, but this is the one that she was wearing at the Siege of Mandalore.
Oh, yes, it is.
And I was looking at it and I'm like, this is different. This is interesting. And on the rewatch, that's when I realized, like, oh, it's that one. Why are we specific? There's obviously a choice being made to use this instead of her traditional one.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't piece that together till right now, but it is very true and very cool. I love Ahsoka's whole renewed, calm attitude when she comes out of this, because this is what's happened, right? She's made the choice. She's made the choice to live. She confronted her fear. Her fear was Anakin. Her fear was, runaway power. Her fear was darkness. And when she finally embraced these things, when she finally let go of the fear, at the end of her lesson with Anakin in the World Between Worlds, she comes out like she's not like giggly Yoda crazy, but she's on that spectrum now. You know what I mean? Where she has a bit more freeness about her than she had going into this moment.
So all those people who have been bitching about, mopey Ahsoka, hopefully they're happy now.
I hope so too. She senses force echoes in the map, which is, that stuff's taken from the Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor video games. Cal is doing that shit all the time. He's finding force echoes, and that's how you kind of get story beats throughout those games. Bring that into a live action thing, I think, is really cool.
It's like the Dead Zone.
Can I say that the one disappointing aspect of this episode is that there's the only Ray Stevenson we get is just kind of like the little voice bit in this scene.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and he has been, our R.I.P. Ray Stevenson. It's been so great just getting this one last fantastic performance from him. And I love the mystery around the character. I love, they just kind of keep hinting towards, he might not be as bad as he seems type of deal, even though his trainee is what do they call a Sith trainee? A Padawan? Not a Padawan, do they?
Acolyte.
An acolyte. Okay, well, yeah. His acolyte is clearly a fucking psychopath, but he seems less so.
Yeah, he kind of just knows. He's just calm and straightforward. He has no anxiety, no fear. He just has his goals. He's wonderful in the show. We've been praising him the whole time we've been doing this show.
Oh yeah.
You guys chat amongst yourselves. I got to take a pee break.
All right.
Go right ahead. Can I say how much I enjoy the I apologize. Right? Is it Carson? What's his name?
Yep. Carson Teva.
Carson Teva. I've enjoyed him as being just kind of like the kind of constant through line between the different Filoni live action TV series.
He's he's the Wedge Antilles of the streaming series,
right? And I feel like he showed himself in season 3 of Mandalorian to be to be the kind of person who would say, you know what, screw the rules, I'm gonna do what's right and accompany you on this mission. Although I'm curious to see how the timeline lines up, because you said this runs concurrently with season 3 of Mandalorian. so I wonder, like, what happened first? Him seeing, him getting an idea that something more was going on in the Mandalorian season 3, just kind of like being worried and whatnot, and that caused him to, disobey orders and go to help, or what he's experiencing here. Like, which of these happened first to influence him to look into the other?
This is a good question because I had not considered that aspect. I thought that, these were pretty much clean from each other as far as characters go, but no. Yeah, he is a guy who's pretty prominent in both series. So I am curious of that myself, especially because later on in Mando season 3, we see him, go back and he's having a drink with Zeb and stuff. So
Yeah.
did that happen after this or prior to this? That's a good question. We're trying to figure out if Carson Teva, if his, because he has stuff to do in Mandalorian season 3, if his stuff in Mando season 3 is before or after this, because it's supposed to be happening at the same time.
Yeah, because we were saying in season 3 of Mando, Carson Teva is like, hey, I'm seeing all these little things. I don't think these are isolated incidents. I'm putting this together. I really think this needs to be looked into. And he goes and looks into it. So is this something that happened? It's like, which came first? Did he go on this mission with Hera that was another, data point for him to make his decision in Mando? Or was his experiences in Mando informing him in deciding to go along with Hera in this series?
That's an interesting question. I mean, he's always just struck me as the kind of guy that just knows what the right thing is and does the right thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll be interesting to see where the chronology falls when we kind of have a fuller picture of everything.
Yeah, I did see somebody pose a question as to maybe, because we see at the first episode of Mando season 3, Grogu, while they're traveling through hyperspace, Grogu looks out and he sees a bunch of Purrgil traveling in hyperspace as well next to them. Yeah. And so the question is, is that this particular group? Is that right after this jump? Is that what they were saying?
Oh, that's interesting. That could very well be. I could see Filoni doing that kind of a thing.
Also, can I point out in Mando season 3, I had no idea what the space whales were about. So great to get that that explained to me in this series. Like, okay, that's what we saw there. Okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah, they're whales with big tentacles, and they can go at light speed. What's there not to understand?
Hey Travis, does a high-ranking military official covering for one of his subordinates making a decision that goes against the orders and then hanging out with whales sound familiar to you at all in the history of science fiction? It's Star Trek 4.
Yes.
This is Star Trek 4.
Oh, that. I did want to pull Scotty saying, "Captain, there'll be whales here."
The difference is Star Trek 4 was about them saving the whales. And this is about the whales saving them.
Yeah.
It is. This scene is great. I love this scene between Ahsoka and the Purrgil. You'll get more of this also when you watch Rebels, Craig, but like Hera, when they first encounter the Purrgil, she had encountered them before. She only sees them as a nuisance because they just are known to tear up starships because they just don't stop for things that are in their way. And so like her being like, yeah, the whales are going to help us, like in a knowing way in this episode is like, really a rewarding thing coming from where she started in Rebels with these guys. But Ahsoka communicating with them in the exact same way that Ezra does and just knowing that that's a thing and that ability it's a beautiful scene. It's so cool. I love this shot of all the baby whales kind of swimming around while the big one is just planted, floating in the air, standing totally still.
Now, do they each propel themselves at light speed individually, or are they all like coasting with the big one?
No, I think they all have their own propulsion.
Yeah.
Right? We saw them all
so.
light up and go.
So I haven't met Ezra yet in this, other than just hearing them talk about him. He's kind of the
And he's in the
MacGuffin.
hologram.
Yeah. So is how important of a character is he to you guys in Rebels?
He's the main character.
I mean,
Oh, really? Oh,
I named one of my kids after him, so
oh, it wasn't after Ezra Miller?
no, no, no. But like he's
You have to be better. You have to be better than Ezra Miller.
That's good. I like. That's very stupid. That's great.
no. I think my like personally, like my favorite two characters from Rebels are Kanan and Chopper, but in the absence of Kanan, Ezra is just kind of like his importance is just because, like Ahsoka, he is another Force wielder who exists post Return of the Jedi at this point. So like that's just the big draw for him. I don't know how you feel about it, Alex.
So clearly we learned that Kanan's dead.
Yes.
In this episode. So is that something that's depicted in Rebels?
Yes.
I feel like half this episode's just been me interviewing you guys about what happened in Rebels.
That's fine.
That was just, and when that does happen in Rebels, it's an impactful thing because so rarely in series and stuff like this do they do something like that, and it's real and it actually has
Stakes and impact and emotional.
yeah, and it's not like, oh, we're just bringing this person back. It's not that, which is great.
Yeah, it's not like in The Rise of Skywalker when, oh, this person's about to die. Oh no, actually they didn't die. Here's Chewie, he's fine.
No, it's well considered storytelling and not slapdash nonsense to finish the project in time after you fire the original creative team and need to make a release date still.
It's fair.
Fucking clowns. Anyway, I don't know if you guys have read even a synopsis of Colin Trevorrow's Duel of the Fates script.
Yes.
The original script for episode 9. It's fucking great. It's really great.
I haven't. I feel like
we were robbed of something that was actually good and well considered to put out something that was safer because somehow Palpatine returned.
So wait, is Palpatine not in Trevorrow's script at all?
I think he is he?
I don't think he was.
There's some other thing going on. There's another big bad, but it's not Palpatine. Rey does not become. It's not like Rey is not Palpatine's daughter in that iteration, and that alone would have been enough.
You mean granddaughter? Sort of clone, great granddaughter of a clone of. I mean, it's
my favorite thing about that script is at the beginning. It begins like Return of the Jedi, where something is going down. And it's like slowly revealed, like, oh, this is all like a setup and a plan to rescue somebody.
And by the way, that's one of the reasons why I think Jedi will always be my favorite. Is that opening sequence at Jabba's palace is my favorite sequence in any Star Wars film.
It's great. That first 20 minutes of Return of the Jedi is absolutely perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was in 1983, and now we have Jedi rocks, and everything is unfortunate. But I digress.
Yeah, I was, and when we watched it at the bowl, I was really hoping that I don't know why I was hoping that we would get the original version, but oh man,
I know.
We got to that. My hopes were shattered.
On this tip too, Travis, you texted me pictures that were screen caps of tweets. Because Disney put out character posters for Anakin and for young Ahsoka and for Rex in this episode. They just want to make all the spoilers into character posters on this show. But I saw, and there's a tweet below one of them where they're promoting an episode of like Star Wars Relax. They do like, you know, lo-fi beats to chill to, except they're visual Star Wars kind of cartoony things. And it said Yub Nub, enjoy some time. And like they said Yub Nub twice in this tweet. It's like, fuckers, don't tweet Yub Nub when you don't let me watch Yub Nub. Yeah. My only choice is to watch this revised end of the movie celebration, and I can't hear the Ewoks original dumbass song, and I want to.
Yeah, and the worst part about that, again, having just recently rewatched it at the bowl, was like the action that takes place does not line up with the weird new song that they put in, and it's like the celebration does like it's so jarring how much it doesn't line up, and it's just like
totally,
and it lines up perfectly with Yub Nub, and it's just like why, you know, if you're gonna replace it, at least try to improve it, but.
I like the piece of music in the special edition a lot. I like the new piece of music a lot. I would just still prefer the original thing because, like, that's the Ewoks partying. That's the Ewoks singing a party song.
Yeah.
You know?
Why are we shown these planets that are not featured in the original trilogy whatsoever and have had no impact on, you know, like what do we care about these other places?
You see Tatooine. You see Bespin.
Yeah, but they also show us some other places too.
They show Naboo and Coruscant.
Yeah, like you know So
I know.
So this episode of Ahsoka, not to get too talking about Jedi.
We have this. I love the whole ending too. Just the Ahsoka ship flying into the mouth of the Purrgil. Very reminiscent of the asteroid worm in Empire Strikes Back. That whole thing. It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Like there's two things very Empire Strikes Back, because like you said, and the very last is her saying like, we'll find him, I promise. And that it's almost like line for line, you know, Lando and Chewie taking off in the Falcon.
Yeah. I promise. Yeah. And the Purrgil taking off, like this is just a very cool visual moment and a very cool end to the episode of just like the blinding light filtering through the teeth as they take off, and just like this is great. And hats off to Filoni. I was on our when we talked about the first two episodes, Craig, I was fairly critical of Dave Filoni's live action directing chops in the first episode. I thought there was a bit of drag in that episode, and I kind of chalked it up to Dave Filoni has very little, in the grand scheme of things, very little overall experience directing live action, and it's a very different beast than directing animation. And hats off to him, man. He learned some lessons in between episodes 1 and 5, because this one, well directed, great performances all around, fantastic visuals, all the story beats are there. This is great. This is he's earned this so hard.
And let's hope that perhaps he will remain a good director if and when he actually gets to direct a movie.
I know.
I think of the now 4 announced movies. Of the 4 announced movies, his movie's probably the one that's likeliest to happen. But
what are the 4? It's the James Mangold. Is it Mangold? The old
James
one?
Mangold. Yeah, it's that one.
Right, and then are we talking about Rogue Squadron?
No, that's not a thing
Ray's
anymore.
movie.
Ray's movie, and then the 4th one they announced today that. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Lando, right?
Yep, Lando, exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah, Travis texted me that information that the Lando show has now pivoted back into being a movie, and that's just the greatest news.
Oh yeah, no. When I read that news, I have a text thread. I texted my friends on it, and I just said, "Happy fucking Thursday!"
Oh man, I think maybe Travis, either you or Dustin, kind of pitched this concept on a show ages ago when we were talking about what we would want out of a Lando show, and one of you guys said like it would be very cool if like it was just kind of episodic adventures of Lando where like there were wraparounds with old Lando and he's telling the stories of his youth, and that's Donald Glover, and that'd be very cool. But if they're taking an approach where they're just trying to tell a single story, I'm so glad that they're making it a movie again and not trying to drag it out over the course of a show, just because that seems like the safer thing, which is definitely what happened with Obi-Wan.
Can we get both? Could we like get like
I
the movie
I just want
and
Donald
then
Glover.
also get like the Billy D. Williams Lando TV show? I mean, you know, the Rise of Skywalker ended with like a cliffhanger with him and his maybe daughter.
This episode of Ahsoka sets up what they can do. Is Lando goes to the old Lando goes to the world between worlds.
There you
and
go.
he falls down, and he gets up, and all of a sudden he's young Donald Glover.
And he's challenged by Lobot to learn a lesson.
Oh yeah.
Lobot is tragic, y'all. There's a Lando miniseries that Marvel did since 2015 that I super recommend. That tells us the true tragedy of Lobot's story and his sacrifice for his friend Lando. It's very sad. It's really good. Yeah, this episode of Ahsoka, and it's like, and what I kind of feel like I was right about what I was saying last week, Travis, that like two sides of a record. You have to have a Bafo, you have to have an opening on side A and side B. This is the side B opening of Ahsoka. This is the halfway point. This is the first episode of the halfway point. This is the episode that got played in IMAX theaters as a promo that we unfortunately didn't get to go to, but like, holy shit, can you imagine going to see this episode in a movie theater? I would have been just weeping the whole time in that format, probably.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very envious of those folks who got to see that.
And they got a special poster too.
Sorry, what's up, Craig?
Oh, I said I prefer not to weep in public.
In a dark room, though, you can get away with it.
People can see you and hear you. You would be surprised how many times people always hear me in a movie theater. Any like Paul Preston from the Schmodown one time when I watched Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Movie ends, the lights go up, and Paul Preston from across the theater is like, "I knew it was you. I heard you laugh."
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great. I'm very much looking forward to the rest of this show. Do we know what the director roster is for the rest of the episodes?
we do.
Yeah.
I said it pulled up a second ago. We have, I think, Rick Famuyiwa. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yep.
Is directing the finale, I believe.
Good.
Okay.
Let me pull this. I'm pulling it up now.
Next one is Jennifer Getzinger.
Okay.
Oh, she's done some Westworld, some Candy, some Mad Men.
Which seasons of Westworld? It's an important question.
significant.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's see. IMDb site's stupid.
Yeah, I hate the recent years redesign. of
Season
IMDb
3.
So much.
I'm sorry.
The tough
I mean,
years.
yeah. And then, Geeta Patel, who did some House of the Dragon. I don't know how you guys were on House of the Dragon, but
I
I'm very
loved
much
it.
enjoying it. And so Geeta Patel, who directs House of the Dragon, is directing episode 7. And then, Rick Famuyiwa directing episode 8.
Patel directed some episodes of the first season of Dead to Me. That was very good. She's directed. She's like a sitcom director. That's very interesting.
Mindy
Or at least
Project, I love
historically.
Mindy Project. Superstore's good.
Yeah.
The Mick. Deal with the Mick.
Yeah, she moved up. Yeah,
That's
she
up
moved
the
up.
boat.
Yeah,
Speechless.
check out that trajectory. The Great. A couple episodes of The Great, which I've never watched but heard is great. My takeaway from this episode is I'm just very happy. This is hugely exciting Star Wars. It's very gratifying to see some stuff that was really initially presented in a very silly way paying off in a really satisfying emotional way. Deeply just rewarding to see Hayden get to do that. 100 stars out of 5.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
No, and honestly, it's like this one episode was, I just like more fulfilling than the entire series of Obi-Wan. You know,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate because you see how
Truly.
this, just from a mythology standpoint, from a production value standpoint, everything in this episode and in this series thus far is just giving you stuff that you're like, oh, the Obi-Wan stuff. And then when I texted Alex the news about the Lando stuff, I'm like, why didn't they just do this for Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
Oh, you make an Obi-Wan movie? That was a great. You should pitch that to them. Maybe they would have. Oh wait, they did say they were going to do it.
It's just like I don't understand the people. The only thing that people have ever really responded to in Star Wars is the storytelling. That's the only thing. Like, no one gave really two shits about Andor. Then we started watching Andor and realizing it was a brilliantly told story that we didn't have anything of in Star Wars yet, and we got really into it. It just bums me out so hard.
And then you take the opposite. Before you you take Boba Fett, who everyone was obsessed with, and then you give him a show that everyone was like, oh, okay.
Right. It's just so annoying that like the from the business perspective, it was like, okay, well, Solo did not do well, and Last Jedi was not, or Rise of Skywalker was not the best received. So we're gonna pump the brakes on the live action stuff. Oh, this TV show is doing well? Great. We just make TV shows now. Star Wars.
It's obviously because it's a show. Not because they took their time on it.
Oh, TV works for what we're doing, not movies. We'll just do that forever. It's like, guys, like, put the story in the format that the story wants to be in, for the love of the maker. Just anyway, it's just frustrating.
You mentioned Andor. So what I found interesting about this show, the Ahsoka show, is tonally it just kind of like it falls somewhere between Andor and Mandalorian. It's like it's not quite as cartoony and it is Mandalorian. Not that Mandalorian is entirely cartoony, but it's got
more cutesy than this show is.
Yeah, it's one of the main characters a Muppet that doesn't talk.
Whose main job is to just be adorable.
Yeah, and like put things in its mouth.
And sell merchandise.
Despite the fact that he is 50. But
if only they could have found a 50-year-old actor they could pay to do all those things.
You think Deep Roy fits in the suit?
Oh, maybe.
Deep Roy, I think, is past 50 now.
Yeah, I was going to say, you think Deep Roy's only 50?
Deep Roy was Droopy McCool in Return of the Jedi.
And he was Keenser.
He's so many things. He was one of the stations in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. He's 65.
The better station, yeah.
Can we talk about the fact that Droopy McCool is just wearing the worst pair of like shorts in the world, but he's so proud. He rocks it so well.
Did you guys see the trailer for the new Willy Wonka movie? And did it make you as deeply sad as it made me?
I unfortunately had to sit through it, and I was not happy.
So I have heard that the movie is actually really good.
Really?
Oh.
I've heard from people who know people who've seen it, and it's supposed to be just like, actually it's supposed to be amazing. I could not tell you that from watching the trailer, that it would be like, I would not have guessed that from watching the trailer. No. I don't know how this works, but yeah.
This just brings up another thing of like me wishing for something else, because for a long time I had heard that one of the front runners to play Wonka was going to be Donald Glover again. So
I would have loved that.
Yeah, that would have been a great take.
I'll watch Donald Glover do anything. You put Donald Glover in something, I'll just watch him try it.
Yeah.
Timothy Chalamet's in the trailer. The clips they choose to use for that trailer, I don't get. It's like what? This is bad acting. Why are you showing me this in the trailer? You're supposed to hide the bad acting in the movie itself.
I'm so over Timothy Chalamet. I was never into Timothy Chalamet. I just I want his moment to be over, so I don't have to keep seeing his face in movies that I happen to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean.
That's just me.
It's just I mean I'm kind of with you, because I'm like, all right, I'm really looking forward to Dune, in spite of Chalamet being the lead.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. I'm still just traumatized from watching Bones and All last year. It's honestly, it's the first time I've ever considered leaving a movie theater, In fairness, I had not
Bones
seen the
and all.
trailers for it, so I didn't know what to expect exactly. I knew there was something about cannibals in it, but then once it actually got to the cannibalism, I was like, it was way more graphic than I expected. And
You see, under normal circumstances, that would make me more interested in this movie, but I'm reading the log line now, and I don't think I could bring myself to care about this movie. I didn't know this movie existed. I'd never heard of this.
It was so fun fact is that after Call Me by Your Name was only half of the book Call Me by Your Name, and so they're supposed to make a sequel to it. But then Armie Hammer got in trouble because of his cannibal fetish.
Cannibalism, right?
And so
What?
the
That stuff about
director-
Armie Hammer?
And so the director of Call Me by Your Name made a cannibal romance starring Timothy Chalamet since he couldn't do the sequel to.
Okay, I kind of love that. That's actually kind of really awesome.
Yeah.
That's just a middle finger from the box office. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's so weird. It's so amazing. Yeah.
Oh man, what is this movie? This isn't a sequel to Splash called A Bigger Splash, right? It's not. Okay, no, this is a different movie that this guy made. Ahsoka is a good show.
Yeah.
Segue.
Segue. Any thoughts on this episode of Ahsoka?
I don't think I do. I'm just like Star Wars nerd heaven with this episode personally.
Well, they know it's called the World Between Worlds.
I'm Star Wars World Between Worlds for this episode for sure.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think it's been my favorite episode of the series so far, and it makes me excited to watch the Rebels, and it also finally gave me some information on like Jason Syndulla.
Right. Yeah, no, I commented on his biology last week and how it's weird that the only thing he seems to have inherited from Hera is the fact that he has green hair, which doesn't even make any sense to me. But okay.
They just do that.
That human DNA is strong, I suppose.
Yeah.
Lotharian, I think it was.
There's just Droopy McCool's midsection behind you.
That's because Zoom automatically crops the top and bottom. So
Droopy. Thanks, Travis.
this is a visual joke that nobody watching nor listening can see. So
Just for us, sorry.
Picture in your mind Droopy McCool's midsection and Travis's head, just kind of nuzzled right where the belly button would be.
yeah, it looks like a very comfy pillow.
It does.
I wish that my pillow was shaped like Droopy McCool.
And I appreciate that despite the fact that you're in Ohio, that you said pillow and not pillow.
Oh, that's interesting.
The Midwest vowel shift.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right.
I think that's all right. We definitely talked a lot about Ahsoka and not
We did. We got there.
not other things. All right. So we can go ahead and start wrapping it up. So in the meantime, Craig, thank you so much for being with us again. And until next time, where can people find more of you?
Thank you. Yeah, I can be found frequently on Twitter at Barbarian Craig. I am on Instagram at CF Gaynier. C is in Craig, F is in Frank, Gaynier is in the French word to win, because all I do is win. Speaking of, I just recorded an episode of our friend David Jandoyan's new game he's launching called Cinemojis. It's a movie trivia show where the clues are all emojis. And and then I'd also occasionally do a guest star on the Film on Tap podcast, which is on the Tom Shadowbash channel on YouTube.
Sweet. Check out all those things. And Alex, how about you?
You can check out my resume and contact information at abrunel.com. Just check out what I have been up to in the last 10 years in Los Angeles as a focus puller. I'm on Instagram at Alex Brunel. Otherwise, please leave me alone.
All right. You can find the show at whowatchespodcast@gmail.com, at whowatchespod at other places. And we stream now exclusively every week on YouTube because fuck Facebook.
And fuck Twitch, too.
Fuck them all.
This doesn't have an audience on Twitch.
We're going to start streaming on Twitter soon. That's
a
the real
potato
move.
I have a potato
X?
with a screen in it. We can stream to the potato.
That's good.
No, it's not a potato. That is that's Droopy McCool's belly.
Oh. Wow.
Yes.
All right.
Actually, his legs look more like potatoes than his belly does.
They do.
His legs look like potatoes, and his belly looks like a peeled potato.
I think there's, Travis, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's an actual potato in the asteroid field in
There
Empire Strikes Back. Right?
Is. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true. I don't know if anyone's ever been able to properly identify it.
No, because it just looks like an asteroid.
Yeah, because nobody can tell. In fact, I think it was done by the visual effects crew to be as a joke, to be if anybody see, nobody can tell. You just throw any shit in there.
100%.
In fairness, I once ate an asteroid thinking it was a potato, so
Oh.
Nice.
very similar. It was
Well.
crunchy.
Let's see.
The gravy helped wash it down though, so we're good.
Hold on. I've got issues going on with the stream thing.
Oh, no.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now I've got it. And I hope everybody, stays good, stays safe, stays droopy and McCool.
Should people on the close?
It's fine. All right. We're all good.
All right.
Just on a loop.
Nice. That was fun.
It was. I actually have to run.
Yeah.
But
Go for it.
great seeing you guys and talking to you as always.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too, man.
Thank you.
Did this? So wait,